President Biden is enacting the most comprehensive COVID vaccine mandates yet, requiring vaccination for all federal employees and more than a quarter of all private sector workers. After months of dithering within the Biden administration over how aggressively to police workplaces about COVID-19, the new mandates to combat the Delta variant, which is starting to slacken economic growth and possibly even the ferociously tight labor market, come after months of dithering within the Biden administration over how aggressively to police workplaces about COVID-19. On his first day in office, Biden promised to have the Occupational Safety and Health Administration of the Department of Labor draft an emergency temporary standard to safeguard workers against COVID-19. However, when the guideline was announced in June, it only applied to healthcare employees, and it only encouraged vaccinations rather than requiring them. Biden announced in July that federal employees and contractors will be required to be vaccinated or undergo COVID testing once or twice a week. Following the FDA's formal clearance of the Pfizer vaccine last month, the Pentagon said that service members will be required to be vaccinated by mid-September. Now, as a presidential contender in 2020, Biden is urging OSHA to create the larger emergency COVID standard that he advocated for. The new standard will require all employers with 100 or more employees to ensure their workforce is fully vaccinated or require any workers who remain unvaccinated to produce a negative test result on at least a weekly basis before coming to work, according to a description of the plan posted by the White House on Thursday afternoon. According to the White House, the norm will affect more than 80 million private sector workers. The plan also mandates vaccinations for federal contractors, a group that is defined far more broadly than Biden did in July. Biden's July order only applied to on-site contract workers, which were private employees who worked inside federal buildings in Washington and across the country. According to political scientist Paul Light of New York University, only a portion of the 5 million private sector employees that work on government contracts. Now, Biden says that all federal contractors must be vaccinated, and he defines federal contractors as workers of contractors who do business with the federal government. That would appear to include not only the 5 million people employed directly on government contracts, who account for about 4% of the private sector workforce, but also the millions of people employed by every company that does business with the government who are not directly employed on government contracts. This equates to nearly a quarter of the private sector workforce. In addition, Biden is requiring that the majority of personnel at every healthcare institution in the country that participates in Medicare or Medicaid, which is almost all of them, get vaccinated. According to the White House, that number is around 17 million people, or roughly 14% of the private sector workforce. Because this 14% overlaps with the aforementioned 25%, it's difficult to say exactly how much of the U.S. labor force will be affected. But it's a significant amount.